YouTube channel, and today we are playing Temur Elementals, which is a deck that was popular, I want to say a couple sets ago, a couple expansions ago. It was considered a pretty strong deck, and since has fallen a little bit by the wayside, and by a little bit I mean a lot. It is all but dropped off the meta entirely, and it's something that I've always enjoyed playing. There are decks out there currently that are elemental decks that feature Yorion, and they're 80 card decks, but they're not really truly elemental decks. They have a lot of elementals in them. They have Risen Reef, and I feel like if you put Risen Reef in a deck, people just call it an elementals deck, but they're not really. They're just a different version of the Yorion Agent of Treachery decks. They use Risen Reef as an engine to ramp up mana, to eventually build up the ability for you to use Agent of Treachery and quasi-duplicate. You might have seen, I think Croaky's had a list out there. Croaky's being a very famous Magic streamer, if you are unfamiliar, but very popular Magic streamers out there have built, shells out there that feature Yorion, but they, the point isn't to end the game. The decks aren't elementals. They have elemental aspects in them for ramping purposes, but the elementals aren't the end all be all. They're not the things that are going to end the game for you. They're just there to ramp up to Agent of Treachery. Just another complaint from me about Agent of Treachery being so powerful in the meta right now. I swear to God, it'll end soon. Hopefully, I probably won't. But what I built here is a Temur Elementals deck, and it's truly just elementals. The only creatures in here are elementals, and it's really tough to not include other cards. But we do have one non-elemental. I will take that back. It's Kahira the Orphan Guard. There's really no reason to not have Kahira as a companion if you're building a real, elemental deck. Because Kahira, as you can see, all right, let me change the view here. So Kahira has Vigilance, and as a companion, each creature card in your starting deck is a cat, elemental, nightmare, dinosaur, or beast card. Each other creature you control that's a cat, elemental, nightmare, dinosaur, or beast gets +1/+1 and has Vigilance. And it's a 3/2. So there's really, and he's a 3-mana 3/2. He gives all of your elementals. So essentially all of the creatures that you're going to be playing in this deck will have Vigilance, and they'll get +1/+1. So there's no reason to really not run a Kahira as a companion for an elementals deck if you're going to build one. The reason I wanted to go back to Temur Elementals, one, I've always loved the elemental deck type. I always thought it was super fun to play. It always, Risen Reef and, a lot of these combinations can make for some very long turns and, getting a lot of mana out there and giving you a lot of options to play with. But one of the cards that came out in Ikoria Ikoria, whatever you want to call it, that I was very interested in is Genesis Ultimatum. So Genesis Ultimatum is a sorcery, costs 7 mana, 2 green, 3 blue, 2 red. Look at the top 5 cards of your library, put any number of permanent cards from among them onto the battlefield and the rest into your hand, and then exile just Genesis Ultimatum. Obviously very powerful. If you have a lot of powerful cards in your deck, they'll do, they're going to do a heck of a lot for you. So what I've done here is, I built the elemental shell. I built, all elementals into the deck. And what I first did is I just had a Yorion as my companion, and I just filled the deck with just elementals. Creeping Trailblazer, Healer of the Glade, Overgrowth Elemental, everything you could name of, maybe not so much powerful cards, but just elemental cards. I just threw them all in there. And the problem I was having is Risen Reef is your engine, and as soon as you get them out there, regardless of what else you have out there, people are just removing everything. It just wasn't powerful enough. You needed cards to end the game. Even if you wanted to play wide with a bunch of elementals, it just wasn't getting me anywhere. It just didn't feel good. I would throw some shocks in there. I would throw some lava coils in there. It didn't materialize as the deck I thought it would. So I started changing some things around. I made some real high-end win con cards, some cards that do end games. Cavalier of Flame, Cavalier of Thorns. Cavalier of Thorns I've really only put in here because of the reach. His ETB ability, or his Enter the Battlefield ability, reveal the top 5 cards of your library, put a land card from among them onto the battlefield, the rest into your graveyard. When he dies, you can exile it. And if you do, you can take a target card from your graveyard and put it on top of your library. I don't know that that's actually the most powerful ability. I don't know that that synergistically works with this deck. I feel like it would be stronger if I had Uro in the deck. Synergistically, I feel like Cavalier of Thorns works a lot better with Uro, so maybe even changing out Cavalier of Thorns for Cavalier of Gales might even be better, because Cavalier of Gales at least lets you dig, lets you scry, lets you draw, and maybe pick out a card that you want. I think Cavalier of Gales, what it does is you get to look at you draw 3 cards, and then you keep 1, and then you put 2 back onto the top of your library in any order that you choose. So, he lets you essentially draw a card that you want from the top 3 of your deck, and then you put 2 back in any order that you want, so you can kind of set up your next two draw steps. So it might even be better to incorporate Cavalier of Gales in instead of Thorns, but Reach, the only reason I really have him in here instead is because of Reach. I made a late change here right before I made this video. I threw in some Healer of the Glades as more triggers for Risen Reef, but I'm thinking it might not even be worth it. I think Cavalier of Gales is actually the better inclusion here. So this is, to be honest, this is the deck that I had before I started making this video, that I was playing with. I play tested a bunch. It still doesn't feel perfect. It still doesn't feel 100%. But I do like this list. The reason I cut Gales, the reason I included Healer of the Glade was just as an easy trigger for Risen Reef. The thing is, everybody knows about Risen Reef at this point. Everybody knows that when you get a Risen Reef on the field, that is too valuable of an engine to leave on the field, so everybody removes it right away. And pretty much when Risen Reef gets removed, your first 3 turns of just building up mana to get to it, maybe you put a Leafkin Druid on the field, maybe you've removed some of their threats with a Shock or a Lava Coil. By the time you get Risen Reef out there, they'll have removal for it. They haven't used it yet because you don't have any low mana creatures for them to remove. And then they just burn right through you, because there's not much left in your deck except for high mana things, and by the time you're getting to these things, they've already established a board presence that you can't really answer. So I incorporated some low-end removal here in Shock and Lava Coil. I'm still finding that it's pretty frustrating. I have some, I've had some games where it's just a battle of removal. I'll put a Risen Reef out there, they'll remove it, and then they put a Knight of the Ebon Legion out, I'll remove it, and then I put out a Leafkin Druid, and then they remove it, and then they put out whatever else, and then I remove it with Lava Coil. So I've had some games where it's just low-end removal until something sticks. You're just throwing shit at the wall until something sticks. Hopefully it's a Risen Reef, and then you can kind of ramp up from there with Growth Spiral, maybe a Leafkin Druid, an Omnath, and then you get your way over to this your Cavalier, your Elemental Knights. I mean, I guess I could really name this Temur Elemental Knights, because our high end is just Cavalier of Gales, Cavalier of Flames, Cavalier of Thorns. I'd love to hit these in general, ramp up to them and just play them, but really what I'd love to do is to hit them with a Genesis of Ultimatum. So just ramp with your low end here of a Risen Reef, a Leafkin Druid, maybe you throw an Omnath on the board to try to stabilize, you remove some of their stuff, you ramp up with Growth Spiral, maybe you put a Kahira on the board, maybe not. But you make your way to 7 mana with the obviously required mana cost of the 2 green, 3 blue, 2 red. You cast this sorcery and you get any number of permanents onto the battlefield you can get, and ideally you hit a bunch of Cavaliers and you just play them, and that's your win con. Again, as a deck, this idea doesn't feel strong enough. I'm sure there's a better brew out there, but it is fun when it works. And Cavalier Flame is I'd say is one of my favorite cards. Just getting it out there, using the 2 mana pump, getting all your things more powerful. Kahira has some decent synergy with the deck. If you've been able, if your opponent has been unlucky enough to let you keep a Risen Reef on the board and a Leafkin Druid, and you're able to kind of ramp, and you have a bunch of mana out there, you can get a Cavalier out there, do a bunch of pumps, and get everything out there hasty and high damage, throw some damage out there, you throw Kahira out there, he gives everything vigilance and +1/+1. The vigilance is actually key, because you can swing in and you don't have to worry about taking anything back, because one thing I found with this deck, with no real life gain, it's a clock, and your clock is 20 life, and once it's out, it's done. I mean, that's the rules, but with no life gain, there's no bounce back. So every single life that you take, every single piece of damage that you take counts. So that's, you know, there are cases where you have to give up a Risen Reef just to give yourself a chance, and it can be kind of tough. But this is the shell I've been working with. It is fun. Maybe a recommendation would be cutting, and you know, I'm going to record a few games, see how they go, and show you kind of what this deck can do, what this deck is incapable of doing. But like, as we play, probably the thing I'm going to do is cut Cavalier of Thorns, and maybe incorporate something into our lower end, maybe incorporating Healer of the Glade. Maybe cut 2 Cavalier of Thorns, cut an Omnath, and then throw in 3 Healers of the Glade. To give us more early interaction, more triggers for Risen Reef, more things for our opponent to remove that aren't Risen Reef. Because, you know, if you're playing a Healer of the Glade on turn 1 and they remove it, big deal. Who cares? You lost a Healer of the Glade. What you want on the field is a Risen Reef. So that might be what I end up doing. Because you got to figure also, like, your win cons are Omnath, your win cons are Cavalier, and are your Cavaliers. So you have 2, 4, 6. You have 10 cards that are kind of your high end. So it might not even, I mean, you can only have 1 Omnath on the field at a time, but because it's legendary. But this might be too much. So by cutting 2, 3, you know, by cutting 3 down, you're down to what, 7 high end bombs, and then you can have the lower end with the Healer of the Glade. Definitely something I'm considering. So, but yeah, this is the shell as it is. It does, you know, I wouldn't, it's definitely a below 50% win rate. I would not recommend at all playing this anywhere near the ranked ladder. But it's fun. I've always loved Temur Elementals. I've loved Risen Reef. Everybody said it was a broken card, but it's so easy to remove, and it takes so long to get out there that I think it's far from broken. It's more than fair. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into some matches. All right, our first opponent for the day is Riam. One thing I've been noticing, I think because, again, I'm not going to be playing this in ranked at all. The reason I mulligan that hand, no early interaction, no early plays, no early ramp. This much better, has the early ramp, has some early interaction. I think what we'll get rid of, probably the Fabled Passage. But what I've been finding with this deck, and this is a perfect example, what I've been finding with this deck is because I have things like Shock and because I have things like Lava Coil in it, I'm getting a lot of mono red. I know that mono red is very prevalent in this game and, you know, everywhere. And he gets my Lava Coil. God damn it. But I think the algorithm obviously usually tries to give you mirror matches in that, you know, well, not mirror matches. The algorithm for casual usually will, I think there's like a value of specific cards. It values cards in a certain way, and it'll match you against decks that have a similar value to their cards. So because I have things like Lava Coil, because I have things like Shock, I think that it just matches me up with a lot of mono red. So I am running into a lot of mono red, which is super, super frustrating because this deck obviously takes a little while for you to ramp up and to be able to do these kind of... Kahira might be the move here. Just get another body on the field. Get more blockers. I mean, he can easily remove it if he has a Shock. But he's just going for all out, just attack, attack, attack. Not much I can do about it. He's probably looking for a Scorch. What did he get? Oh my god. So we can go Omnath. Let's do the math here. I mean, if we go Omnath, we remove 1, that's 4. And we got 3 blockers. We might as well attack. They have vigilance. And I think the goblin thing... Alright, so let's see here. Might honestly be worth it to do this. And then, I mean, I hate to do it, but do that. And just swing all in, hope that he tries to block. The best we can hope for is he does like a full swing in, trying to get our life total down. So we'll put a +1/+1 counter on. It's just a Leafkin Druid. Well, I couldn't have done it on Kahira. I was gonna say to get it out of. And then, actually, what I love about Fabled Passage there is we get the +1/+1 there, and then we're gonna get a +1/+1 here. I'm gonna get a blue because we're gonna need as much blue as we can get. There we go. So we play the Genesis Ultimatum. We'll beef up the Risen Reef to get that out of range of... a shock. This is going fantastically. God, I hate that it's off to the side. Has this been happening to anybody else? Oh, there we go. Okay, so what don't we need? We don't need another... Well, actually, we wouldn't hurt to have. Let's put a Leafkin Druid away. Let's put it lands away. And then we're going to shock one of your tokens, because we can. And we're going to swing all in, because we have vigilance. I'm thinking the only thing you could have that could kill me would be like Slaying Fire or Skewer the Critics, and he didn't draw it, and we won. Thank God. I hate mono red, but those draws were perfect for us. Our second opponent for the day, Retro Dad 59. Hopefully Retro Dad doesn't like playing mono red. I hope. So this hand is enticing, but it's just too greedy. We have too much high end that costs too much. We do have some good low end, but it's just so risky. We have what, 27 lands? Fuck it. This was a mistake. Shocks in Serrated Scorpion. Okay, so we'll play the Ketria. We'll shock in the Stomping Ground to play a Leafkin Druid, I guess. Hopefully that'll keep him at bay. I hate shocking in for a Leafkin Druid, though. It just seems so weak. Hopefully we draw into an untapped any source, because with Ketria untapped we'll be able to... Oh, okay, sweet. Hey, an untapped any source. I'll take that. Bet you wish you didn't use that Skewer the Critics now, huh? Who am I kidding? If he has Skewer the Critics, he's probably got more. Bastion of Remembrance. Interesting. At least we're not coming up against typical, like, Lura Sacrifice at this time, I don't think. So what do I want to do? Do I want to shock in a Stomping Ground? Again, another thing you got to think about with this deck is that every single life counts, because you're not getting much life back. I guess, yeah, we just play it out. Play out the Risen Reef. Hope he doesn't have removal for it, but he will. Oh, he will. And then I guess our next move is Fabled Passage, Kahira, depending on our draw. But again, I just hate that we had the 2 Cavaliers to start with. I wish we just had 1. And maybe like another Risen Reef or another Leafkin Druid or something. Another reason why I think cutting Cavaliers down and incorporating Healer of the Glade will be beneficial. Okay, so we have a Genesis Ultimatum, so that's huge. I'm going to go fetch a blue so that we have the 3 blues necessary for Genesis Ultimatum. And we can Cavalier of Flame. Or Cavalier of Gales. Might be worth it to do this. And then we can, I mean, as far as mana efficiency goes, this wasn't worth it. I wish he had a Luris. Might as well swing in. They have Vigilance, and he can't kill any of our creatures. At this time, I don't think. He has 1 untapped red mana. Could be a shock, but I doubt it. The Bastion of Remembrance is going to fucking kill. Because we don't have any life gain, so it's just a 20. It's a clock of 20, and he's got some life gain. And he has 2 out there, so that sucks. So our only one of our best options might be Cavalier of Gales. If he has no flying things, then we don't even have to sacrifice what we have. But at least we're staving off an attack right now, because if he attacks in with his creatures and lets them die, even for the 2 pings, he leaves a completely empty board. Whisper Squad. So he's probably going to use that Whisper Squad to fetch a Whisper Squad. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. We're at 5 mana, so we're... Let's see here. Okay, so he is just swinging in. I'm going to block that Serrated Scorpion all day to not lose the life. Let's scry and see what we find. We find a Shock, which I want. Is it worth it to Growth Spiral, get the Shock, take down a Whisper Squad? No, I want his stuff to stay alive. I don't think it's worth it. So we'll play out the Cavalier of Gales now. I doubt that his last card is going to be removal. I doubt it. So we're going to put back a Genesis Ultimatum. We're going to put back a Cavalier of Thorns because I can't afford it yet. At least unless I shock in with the Stomping Ground, but I don't think I'm going to be shocking in any lands. We'll take the Genesis Ultimatum first, I guess. We'll swing all in. If he blocks with this Whisper Squad, he blocks with the Whisper Squad. I can't do much about that. I just wish something had lifelink. So now for the rest of the game, we're not attacking with these guys. If he wants to attack into them, that's fine. But we're just going to attack with Cavalier of Gales. That's it, because we don't want his stuff killing. So he probably wants to get rid of the Kahira, I guess? Or maybe the Cavalier. I mean, the Cavalier is what he should get rid of. Kahira isn't his #1 threat right now. Okay, so that was a mistake. He should not have done that. We'll let that enter tapped. We'll play our Genesis Ultimatum. deals damage, so we'll do it to him. We're going to keep buffing our Cavalier of Gales because that's pretty much all we're going to expect that we're going to be attacking with. And then let's discard, I mean, I guess pretty much land. No, not a Castle Vantress. We'll get rid of these 3 lands because they're not doing much for us right now. If he attacks, I think we just let it go through, to be honest. If he attacks, we let it go through. Hope he doesn't have something. I mean, he had a Slaying Fire, and he has a Skewer the Critics. So odds are it's not something. I mean, odds are it's what's in his hand. So I think we let the Risen Reef die. And I think we take, what is he, Slaying, so he has Slaying Fire. Either way it happens. If it's a Slaying Fire, I can't do anything about it, so. Or if he has a Skewer the Critics, I suppose. Okay, so that's an interesting play for sure. But I think we got him because we held up the Cavalier. So we'll play out the Cavalier. We'll discard pretty much everything. He's saying good game. I'm not going to give it back to him just yet because the game's not over, but he scooped. Our third opponent for the day is Tenjo Fonar. Oh, man. All right, so, I mean, we have a lot of early removal, Cavalier, and Risen Reef for ramp, but we don't have a lot of... I mean, I'm gonna keep it, but I don't love it. Okay. I don't want him to think that we're playing the Kahira Fires of Invention deck, which is just gruel. So I'm going to throw out the Steam Vents first. No real reason to shock this in yet. I guess next turn we throw down the mountain. Royal Scions. Huh. This is interesting. This is very interesting. I'm assuming he's going to have removal for this Risen Reef, like, immediately. And if he doesn't, he's going to draw into it. Remove a creature to draw a card. Mass 1. Zombie tokens have Death Touch. Interesting. So he puts Gleaming Overseer. They have Death Touch. So... Or, I'm sorry, they have Hexproof. So, pretty solid Lava Coil there. I'm going to put that Genesis Ultimatum away because that's just too much. We need more stuff on the board and to interact with. So we'll get rid of him so they don't have Hexproof anymore. And then we'll just throw out a shock. Get rid of the token. We add a token to his Ozolith, but I don't think it matters what I target with Risen Reef. Royal Signs aren't really a huge threat for me. What's their minus ability? Draw 4 cards when you do, deals damage equal to the number of cards in your hand. If he wants to kill my Risen Reef, by all means. Okay. Let's see here. What do I want to do? Wish we had a land to play, but we don't. Might be best to play him. Oh, and then yeah, well, I screwed that up. You can attack with that. All right. That's an oops. So I should have played... I was hoping to play Leafkin and then Growth Spiral to be as mana efficient as I could, but wasn't paying attention to the mana I had on the board. Assume he's going to have removal. And then, yeah, fuck it, we'll Growth Spiral. We're not going to block anyway, so let's just Growth Spiral it. Deal damage, kill my Risen Reef. That's fine, we weren't going to block. Oh, deal damage to me, to face. Okay. We'll take that. Oh, and then he can amass 2. That's 5/5. Why can't I block? Does it have Menace now? Yeah, it has Menace. What is our best bet? Do we roll the dice and hope for... Yeah, fuck it. Let's roll the dice. Let's hope Genesis Ultimatum hits some good shit. Okay. That sucks. Oh, we whiffed. That's game. That's too bad. Maybe should. Our next opponent for the day is Peregrine Falcon 1. Oh, what a hand. Absolutely not. Much better. No early removal, but we'll take it. And then we'll get rid of the tapped land. Throw down Ketria, throw down Forest. Hopefully we can Growth Spiral. Put down the Breeding Pool into Risen Reef. Maybe should have Temple Abandoned there for the Scry to see what was our next draw. Good thing is we have another one. So let's Growth Spiral first, because I don't think we're going to be playing anything else. We'll put down the Abandon. I don't think we need more. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see here. So we have blue, blue. Do we have, and we have blue there, so we can cast, so yeah, we'll keep it. We'll pay 2 life here and put this guy down so he can't attack us for 2. More or less the same value. Either he was going to attack us for 2 and then we got Leafkin down, or we block his 2 and keep him at bay. Okay, so he puts a Nylea down. That's an interesting play. So we'll throw down Risen Reef now. We'll let that enter tapped. We'll put this down. We'll put Kahira down. Buff these guys up. Get in for that Leafkin Druid attack that you rarely ever get to see. Hopefully he targets the Kahira. That would be dope. Please target the Kahira. And he's trying to ramp to Gyruda. I didn't even notice that. He's going ramp Gyruda. Okay, that's an interesting play. So we don't have the mana to play Risen Reef. Alright, so we have open mana, so let's put a Cavalier of Gales and an Omnath on top. Let's keep Gales up. We'll shock the Druid to keep his ramp down. And then let's play another Reef. Screw it. Get both of those guys in our hand. Have that enter tapped. Swing in. And then for the rest of the game, we're probably just swinging in with Cavalier of Gales because of that Revenge for Ravens. But if he's trying to ramp to Gyruda, he's got a ways to go. And we got options, baby. That doesn't hurt as much as he thinks it does. And what is this? Whenever it attacks, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's see. Let's play him out. That was a growth spiral. Let's play him out. Just do the damage. Put that, enters tapped. Put a +1/+1 counter on Cavalier. Do the damage. Do more damage. Swing in with just him. And let's see if he can get what he needs. What's your play? A 4/4? Well, that's game. Okay, and he quit. All right. So there we go. I think that's 4 games, and I think we're 3-1. Alrighty. Our final opponent for the day is Anderson Joshua. I don't know. I don't read good. Early interaction, we have ramp. But our only thing is Cavalier of Gales. How do I feel about that? I'm going to regret it if I keep this. YOLO. I hate people who say that. Oh my god, this is such a nightmare. What do I do? Oh man. Because it's 5 mana. We're so close to getting the mana that we need, but that's turn 5. And hold on, who's his companion? Luris? Mulligan. Oh, God. It's the same hand, just a different night. Oh, man. Fuck me. I mean, we can play. We do have a way to play the shock. But he has a Luris, so how valuable is that shock even? Right? Actually, very valuable. It can remove the Luris. So we'll get rid of the Scryland. Because Luris is what we're... Yeah, that shock has Luris' name all over it. Alright, so no turn 1 play. Let's Growth Spiral. Fuck it. Ramp into Leafkin into another Growth Spiral. I love it. My question is what? Okay, so he's playing a cat deck, which sucks because he can slowly whittle us down, and we have no way to come back. So I can pay 2 life, play him, at least stave off the Cauldron Familiar. And I can't grow Spiral because I don't have the mana. Fuck me. Okay, well, whatever. I am just messing up as far as mana today. Yeah, this is likely going to be us just getting whittled down to 0 from him doing cats, because this deck just can't do much about this. I just watched this happen. I guess we could shock the cat, but I want to save it for Luris. That would be stupid. Oh boy. These cat decks and just the clicks. Like, just take it to ranked, man. Oh. Wait a minute. Green. Oh, I would have to pay that for green. Oh, jeez. Not having the untapped green source kind of sucks here. So we can Kahira. I don't see any red yet, which means I don't think that they're going to claim and then sacrifice. Let's play the Kahira. We'll keep mana open for the shock. Yeah, and with that Cruelest Celebrant out there, this is just going to be a nightmare. I want to save this for the Luris because he can just bring that back. I gotta get the Luris. I want to take the Celebrant, but I have to get the Luris. Hopefully he taps out for Luris now. Witch's Oven. Luris, put it down, 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 put it down. Come on. I see you looking at it. Fuck! Yeah, this is game. He can sacrifice both of them. I gotta get rid of something. It's just... Oh, man. Yeah, this is game. This could at least save some of our creatures. He can sack it and make a food, but I'm fine with that. And then I guess we Growth Spiral. Keep the mana up for the shock in case he plays Luris. I don't want him to kill Kahira. Yeah, there's no point in attacking. If I attacked with both, they could double block on Kahira. He would get him back anyway. And I lose Kahira, and Kahira is very important to me. Oh, man. It's just exhausting. Playing these decks. Let's make a deck where it's just like... Make it pointless for the opponent to attack. And you slowly whittle them down. Make it super fucking arduous to watch and play. Oh my god. Play Luris just so I can remove it, dude. Just fucking do it, please. Oh, man. I guess we go after the Celebrant to slow down the clock, but, I mean, the game's over. Unless we can get... we got 8 life. He's got to be able to cycle these cats in the next couple turns to end this game. He's got 30 fucking life. We have Vigilance. If I were him, I would have gone for the double block, let both of them die. You can bring one back. I mean, he's got 30 health to play with, and he gets rid of my Kahira, and I'm done. If he gets rid of my Kahira, my deck is so significantly weaker. So, if I were him, that's what I would have done. It's like, what's the point? What's the point of making a dex if you just come up against this? Oy vey. Yeah, it's a game. He has Priest in the back pocket. That's a great top deck. We get to exile it too. Eat that. Ah, fuck. Yeah, he can just... I forgot that that's how that works. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we need one more green source for Cav. That's game. Jesus Christ. I mean, might as well. No attacks. I mean, this game's over. We're at 4 life. He can just cycle the cats. Just let him do it. Anderson Joshua, wherever you are, I hate you and everything you stand for, sir. I'm not going to give him the satisfaction. Oh, what? I clicked concede. All right. Well, there you have it. The deck went 3-2. When it won pretty well, and when it lost. So yeah. You know what? Let's try a few games. Let's get rid of Cavalier Thorns. Let's throw in Healer. Let's see what that does. That gives us some life gain, which we were desperately missing. We'll get rid of one of these. What else do we need to get rid of? Three Healers of the Glade. I mean, I feel like 4 would be primo. Let's just give it a try. All right. Jenny LaCava is our first opponent with the edited deck. I mean, I guess. You're gonna have to fetch a red to make Lava Coil even work. I think we ditch one of the Lava Coils. We'll pay 2 life to get in this guy to gain 3 life. Quick math. We're at 21. And that's it. Like, Thassa would be cool to incorporate into this deck so you could blink Healer of the Glade, you know? Gain life that you're not going to get. just put more shit in his way. Go for the attack, see if he blocks. He's not gonna. Yay, removal on the that's exactly what we want. Remove my Healer of the Glade and not my Risen Reef. Guess what, buddy? You removed a Healer of the Glade, guess what you're getting back? So we're gonna fetch the red. So we have the Lava Coil on lock. Play the Healer of the Glade, get that life back. I should attack with the Leafkin Druid to assert my dominance, but we're gonna leave him back. Cavalcade. Scorch Spitter. Attack. I dare you. I fucking dare you. Okay. So, all things considered, probably should have gotten rid of the Goblin Banneret. Well, no. We'll just attack. Even if he pumps the Goblin Banneret, it doesn't trigger Cavalcade, so who cares? Alright, so that's a solid target for our Omnath, if only we could get him out. We'll play Kahira. Get the 2-3. No attack. Where is all the 27 lands I put in this deck? Get rid of you. He does 2 damage. No attacks. Spellgorger weird. So we're playing another mono red. Yeah, just get rid of that because it can get bigger. So what elemental do we want to buff? He's already out of range of him if we attack. Play out the Risen Reef. We got another Omnath. They have Vigilance, so we'll just attack with everybody. See if he gets any removal. If he gets another Chandra's Spitfire. Okay, so now it's a 3-4. So we can Lava Coil our Omnath, which is what we want. Because we have one in hand. Oh, he can't play it. We can then just remove the Pyroceratops. Lol. Okay. If he attacks with Pyroceratops, yeah, we'll block. Absolutely. All day. Do it, do it, do it. Ah, you coward. We block with the Omnath, but either way, we're doing this. Keep you. Kill you. Oh, I should have kept the one that was already on the battlefield. Or would that thing not trigger? I'm not sure. And then what do we want to do? We'll put a +1/+1 counter on the fucking go all in on the Healer of the Glade. See if he wants to block anywhere. Which I doubt. Hopefully he uses that Lava Coil on our Omnath, which we don't really care too much about. Go ahead. What else are you going to put on the board? Are you going to shock my Risen Reef? Oh, dearie me. Whatever shall I do? I'm sorry, I just love it when mono red runs out of stuff. Goodbye, Jenny. GG. Alright, so Healer of the Glade actually came in clutch there and became a 4/5 and kind of won us the game. Because of Omnath, so it's not all Healer of the Glade. But maybe having the earlier creature to stave off the 1/1s and to stave off mono red. We beat mono red without it, but you know, maybe this deck is stronger even with it. And to be honest, Cavalier of Thorns really functions well with Uro. Uro doesn't fit in this deck because of Kira. Uro also isn't an elemental, and this is an elementals deck. So maybe, yeah, cut Cavalier of Thorns. You incorporate Healer of the Glade, so you have more early plays. You have more early triggers for Risen Reef. You have more early, early targets for removal, so that your Risen Reef can survive later. And you just play with 2 Cavaliers, 2 Gales, 2 Flame, 3 Omnath. Might even be worth it, honestly, to trim like 1 Lava Coil, 1 Shock, and you put 1 more of both of these. So you have 6 removal, 9 bombs kind of thing, potentially, because 4 Cavaliers might be a little not enough. So I mean, at the very least, cut a Lava Coil, put in a another Cavalier Flame. I'd say Cavalier Flame is probably stronger than Gales, so you have the 5 to work with. I think this is probably the deck I would say you want to go out there with and have a little bit of fun. Of course, if you really love Cavalier Flame, the best deck you could ever play with is Fires of Invention. But if you're looking for a fun Elementals deck, this one will perform. I've tried other Elementals deck, ones that had Creeping Trailblazer, Overgrowth Elemental, and they just don't do it. You just can't, no matter what you do. Overgrowth Elemental does have... So we'll finish up here. I just want to talk about Elementals at the end of this video. I love Elementals. I always have. And things I always wanted to make work. Overgrowth Elemental. When Overgrowth Elemental enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on a target elemental you control. Whenever another creature you control dies, you gain 1 life. If that creature was an elemental, put a +1/+1 counter on Overgrowth Elemental. He has great synergy with Chandra, Acolyte of Flame, where you create 2 1/1 red elemental creature tokens. They gain haste, sacrifice them at the beginning of your next end step. So when they die, he automatically gets buffed, because 2 of your creatures died, you gain 2 life, he gets 2 counters on him, he becomes super strong. But in every situation, I tried so much. I brewed Elementals. I have been brewing Elementals since November of 2019, since I started playing the game. It's the first deck I liked, first deck I made to play with friends, and this is the one that has been performing best for me. You just have to have Knights. Because let's just take a look. Let's just look at the other elementals that are in this game. Cloud Conceer, great elemental. Would be great with Thassa. You can blink it back and forth. You draw a card every time you blink it. Would be dope. It's a 2/1. It gets removed super easily. Frostlinks, super great card. Blink it with Thassa. You tap one of their creatures every single turn. It's a 2/2. It gets removed so easily. And in a meta where you have things like Shock, these things just don't survive. They just don't. And it takes, with 3 mana to play 3 mana to play these 2/2s. Drawing a card is great, but you can't do it if it's dead. The elementals are great, but you need high-end elementals that aren't going to get removed that end the game, and those are your Cavaliers. Chandra Spitfire would be cool, but if you're making like an aggro elementals deck, Chandra Spitfire would work in it. But in a Temur Elementals deck, Chandra Spitfire just doesn't have a place. If you're playing Temur, you're trying to ramp up to bigger spells. You're trying to ramp up to things that you're not going to be doing damage to face often enough where that +3/+0 is any sort of valuable or viable. So yeah, as you can tell, I'm passionate about elementals. Always loved them. Always wanted to make them work. This is the one that I found that has been performing best in casual. Again, I would never take this to ranked. It's just not powerful enough. I mean, in the games that you saw me play, how many times did I not have any cards in my hand? This has no draw power. This has no life gain except for Healer of the Glade now. If anybody has any deck lists out there that are truly elemental, like only elementals are in the deck, please send it my way. Because I've been trying to make elementals work. I've really wanted to find an elementals deck that's been fun and awesome. Really, the problems with this deck is that it just takes too long to ramp, and there isn't enough early ramp to really protect you from aggro, and there is no real card draw or life gain except for Healer of the Glade now. So maybe life gain isn't my problem now, but maybe card draw is my problem. So if anybody knows of any ways that I could, I mean, obviously there are blue cards I could incorporate into this deck, but what do I cut? If you have any ideas on how to make elementals better, and I mean truly elementals, like only elemental cards in the deck, please let me know. That's what I'm looking for. But this is the deck I've been playing. It is fun. When it goes off, it can be, you can have some really long turns and really go off. So, yeah. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.